Hey everybody, John C.
Denise Richards and the lovely Lulu.
Welcome to another All Things Home. Sometimes I forget to say the name of this show, and we are calling it All Things Home, unless somebody has any recommendations on a different name, but I like All Things Home.
Type it below. We'd love to see.
Yeah, I always forget to tell people to type below. Subscribe. Do that right away. Hurry and say something. You can ask Lulu a question. We'll get into that in just a few minutes. But welcome back. We always love to entertain you guys out there in YouTube land or wherever you're watching this. We like to entertain people.
We do. We like to connect people.
We do. We connect you with other people. That's part of what we do here in Southwest Florida. Part of Denise and I's process is having quality people around us. So we want to connect you with those people.
Definitely.
Let's talk about some things.
A little bit of education, too.
A little bit of education. We do like to educate. And hopefully it's good education. Hopefully it's the right education.
Mm-hmm.
If not, they can Google it.
That's right. And definitely get more information.
Get more information. Lulu wants some love today. All right, Lulu, now go lay down. We got to focus. I can't focus with your fancy, nice dress, by the way. Look at this thing.
Pretty amazing.
Wow.
She was feeling very, very pretty this morning.
And the bows.
Yeah.
She's got the bows in today. Can everyone see those?
She absolutely picks out her outfits.
Lulu, you're fun.
Yeah.
Except I don't like you licking me. All right, let's move on. Market update today. Let's talk about the market. Is it crazy or is it crazy? What is it, Denise?
Crazy.
Really?
A little bit of a roller coaster.
Really?
Market updates in my industry multiple times throughout the day. Prices changing constantly.
Really?
Yeah.
On interest rates?
Interest rates, yes.
So home prices changing constantly too. Somebody I was helping with the other day, they were thinking, maybe I'll wait for the next one to go on the market. And I thought, you can do that. You can wait for the next one in this neighborhood to go on the market, but it's going to be more. Every home that sells, the next home's listed for a higher price point. So yeah, you can wait. Wait as long as you want.
Sure. And you know what else you can wait for?
What?
Well, the FHFA is actually putting an adjustment on all second home purchases.
Ooh, adjustment.
And we knew about it at the beginning of the year, but we didn't know when they were going to sort of put the hammer down. The date is March 7th.
March 7th.
So if you are buying a second home and have not locked your rate in yet, you need to close on or before March 7th to avoid that. And we're talking about a full percentage point in some cases.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Now, I think we were talking about before off camera, we talked a little about why would they do that. And I think most people, the way I think about it is, especially down here in Naples, a lot of people buy their second or third, fourth home. And a lot of the first-time home buyers or people who it's their primary residence are having a tough time getting that home because they're getting outbid by people it's their second or third home. And so it makes it difficult for people who live here, work here, 12 months out of the year.
Right.
So that would be my thought on why they're doing that.
And that's actually exactly why. The FHFA, has a theory that by doing that, it will promote more first or primary residence home buyers as opposed to the second home buyer.
Makes sense.
So they're trying to make it not as desirable.
Yeah, we'll see if that pans out.
Yeah, we'll see if it changes the market.
FHA stuff. I don't know if they hit or miss mostly.
Yeah, and I don't know that that's the same price point buyer either.
You're right.
There's a little bit of that to consider as well.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. So don't stay on the fence if you're on the fence.
No, do it now. Pull the trigger.
Especially a second investment. All right, let's keep moving. So the market's crazy. Inventory is still low, so we won't keep going into that. Last week, we talked a little bit about the appraisal process. And we emphasized that the buyer normally has to pay for that. Just a quick recap. You got anything you want to say about appraisals?
Yeah, it's the determination of value for the home. You know, the lender's going to require it. In some markets, even a cash buyer is going to want it. So
see where they're at. So that's appraisals. If you want more information on that, we spent about 4 minutes on our last video talking about appraisals. So hit the last video and you can be educated on what they are if you don't even know what they are. When it happens in the buyer process, all that fun stuff, you can watch that video. So before we jump into our letter from Lulu, I think we have one that came in today. Let's talk about, just real quick, something we're thankful for. What has happened in the last couple weeks, maybe something that you're thankful for. You got something you've been thinking about? Because I do. You want me to go first to give you a few minutes to make something up? All right. The thing that I am most thankful for, I was telling my wife Angie the other day and my kids at dinner last night, I went on one of my highest price point showings yesterday afternoon. I won't give you the exact price, but let's just say this. If it sells and goes under contract, I could buy a couple cars. I probably could pay my daughter's college fund, which would even be better. Yes, she's giving me the thumbs up on that. So it would be great. Now, we'll see what happens from there. But I was super pumped just to go out and show that property. It was in the multi-million-dollar condo in Naples, and it was just a lot of fun overall. What are you thankful for?
I'm sure the property is magnificent. That had to be pretty amazing.
It definitely wasn't a teardown.
No.
It was ready to go.
Holy smokes. Well, I was thinking a little bit more on the simple side of things. Tuesday mornings I head south to Naples and I catch the most glorious sunrise.
Oh, right.
And being a West Coast Florida girl, sunrises haven't really always been my jam. It's always the sunset, right?
Good point.
But I tell you, that is something to be so thankful for.
Yeah. They are beautiful. And one guy in our network, Peter, he always takes pictures and posts them on Facebook. And I love his pictures. He posts it's the sunrise, and all the colors are just fantastic.
Yeah.
Well said. Letters for Lulu. Enough of thankfulness here on this show. That's enough for today. Let's get into our letters for Lulu. Let's see what we got.
See what's in there.
And by the way, if you
listen.
listen up. If you have a letter or a thought or a question typed up for you or written, as we did in this one here, and we will read it for you and for Lulu, because you know why? Lulu can't read. So we read it for her. So we will do that today. Let's see what we have that came through today. Dear Lulu, what should I expect as my closing day approaches? What should I expect? So this sounds like it's from a buyer, maybe. I guess it could be a seller as well, too. But as closing day gets closer, they're under contract. They're pretty close. A couple days away, it sounds like. What should they expect from the lender side?
Gosh, from the lender side, there's this super important document that must be signed 3 days before compliance will allow us to close that mortgage.
I've heard of that.
It's called the, I'm so sorry, closing disclosure.
Yeah.
But it's the initial closing disclosure. So it's still a figure for your funds to close.
Yep.
But it's a really good estimate. It's as close as it will be until the day of closing.
And I think it's hard to say closing disclosure because we always just say CD.
Yeah, we say CD, exactly.
That's the lingo that we use.
Yeah, or ICD if you want to get really
there you go. We don't say closing disclosure.
acronymish.
So that closing disclosure goes out 3 days before, and the purpose for that going out to the buyer or the seller, I guess the buyer primarily in this situation, right?
Yeah.
If it's a loan, is so that the buyer does what? Knows what?
They have a really good idea of what they're going to need to bring to closing, or maybe it's a refinance, and they're going to have a good idea of what they're going to really be getting back at closing if they're taking cash out, for example.
Oh, good point. I hadn't thought about that. On refinance, they get money back. So that disclosure, what I typically see, it's 2 to 3 pages, and it will basically explain all the different fees that are associated with the purchase, the close, the title company, real estate commissions, everything, right?
Right. It
breaks
details
everything down.
every item that costs to do the mortgage loan. All the hard fees, your lender fees, your taxes, your insurance, everything that's collected for your closing is on that document. And so that gives you time, really, to review it and make sure that you're comfortable with it.
Talk to your lender, talk to your title company, talk to your realtor. If a realtor is helping you and it's not a refinance, talk to them and see, make sure you know what it is. So that when you get to the closing table on closing day, let's just move forward. So you've got that signed 3 days before. And then what do we do? Does the buyer or seller need to do anything in regards to the mortgage side, day 2 or 1 before we get to closing?
They're going to be in touch with the title company. That title company is going to make sure that they have the proper wiring instructions.
Oh, right.
There's a lot of wire fraud. You want to make sure that you're getting your wiring instructions only from the title company.
Only. And I suggest call the title company and talk to who you've been dealing with for the last 30 days in the title company, because you may get a false email that looks like it's from the title company giving you new routing numbers that end up in some island off the coast.
Yes. And that is phishing. That's exactly what
a different type of phishing, but yes, that is phishing. And your money goes bye-bye, see you later. Now, there is an insurance called E&O insurance that may help, but don't rely on that.
No.
And don't even worry about it. Just make sure that you call your title company. Make sure that you have the right wiring instructions on where to go. Now, from the agent side, the realtor side, my not really obstacle, but what I want my buyers and sellers to make sure they do is they have their paperwork in line with the lender. You guys take care of that for them. The title companies answered their questions as they approach closing, and then they have their checkbook or they wire the money correctly into the account that's told to. So that's really that. A lot of times they need to make sure they bring their driver's license pretty much every time to closing. They need to show that proof of ID. So that's the closing.
What is it that you typically do with your buyers, especially like the day of closing, maybe even just an hour before closing? Sometimes
we throw a party and we get real happy. We bust open the bubbly and have a good time.
The disco ball drops, of course.
Disco ball, a couple cigars. No, what we do is we'll do a walkthrough. A lot of buyers, if they're here, which believe it or not, so many buyers here are not here the day before closing or the day of closing.
True.
And so what typically we'll do is a walkthrough, and we'll make sure that if there were home repairs that needed to be done that we agreed upon after the inspection period, that those have been completed. But also we want to make sure that the home hasn't fall into the ground. We want to make sure that it's there. We want to make sure that there's no issues, that it's how we expected it to be based on when we signed the contract 30, 45 days earlier. Yeah, so
exactly.
the walkthrough. Good point.
Yeah.
Anything else with the closing there? I mean, you show up to the table, title company and the attorneys, they pretty much walk the buyer or seller through everything, right?
They sure do.
We're there just for moral support and also to make sure that the paperwork looks like what we've seen.
It's exactly right.
Nobody changed any numbers on there to be behind our client as well, too. All right, before we run out of time today, we need to talk about, was there anything else you want to say about closing? I just kind of cut us right off there. Okay, no. So if there is, there will be a part 2. They are in person now. Thank you for that. They used to not be in person. You had to, like, I don't know, have a pigeon fly out and take the paperwork to the car. It was so silly. All right, so now let's talk about somebody in our network group that we want to connect the audience with, and that is somebody who actually has a title company here in Estero, Florida. If you don't know where Estero is, it's between Naples and Fort Myers. I don't know how to say that.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. I was exactly right on that. Not far from where we're sitting today. And that is Joe Taylor. Joe Taylor is with Marketplace Title, and he is in our networking group. He's actually on our Tuesday morning founders team with Grow Business Network. What do you want to say about Joe? You like Joe at all?
I love Joe.
Really?
He makes my job so much easier. When he's handling my closings, they go smoothly.
Do they?
They close on time.
Good.
Well, you know, John, we've shared deals together with him.
I do, and I'm being silly, of course, because Joe handles right now 99% of my deals that come through him, and specifically Debbie. She does all the paperwork for us and brings it to closing. I get to deal with her on all my closings, which is great because she knows what I expect. I know what she expects. And then Joe's so fun and bubbly. I got to tell a quick story.
Sure.
So I had a client the other day. We closed on a home last Thursday, and my client felt like the title company wasn't very good at communication the last couple days. I told Joe, I said, Joe, listen, here's what happened. My buyer didn't feel like the last few days of closing that there was enough communication. Of course, he felt horrible. Joe's like got his shoulder, his emotions on his shoulders, so he felt horrible. So Joe reaches out to my client, and my client, Joe, and myself in the next couple weeks, we're going golfing. He wants to make it up. He's got a favorite golf course. My client loves to golf, so we're all going golfing. Look at that.
That's awesome.
I know. I'm so pumped. So Joe's a great guy. If you need help with home closing, if you're a real estate agent watching this and you're here in this area, reach out to Joe at Marketplace Tile. He is fantastic. His information is going to be below in the description. Click on that. Give him a call. Stop by his office. He's right off I-75. Anything else you want to say about Joe? Energy Joe, that's what I like to call him. He is full of energy, happiness, joy.
Yeah.
I saw him this morning at 7:15, and that guy, it was like he had drank, 5 energy drinks.
Well, if you weren't smiling before you saw Joe, you will be smiling.
Yes.
He is just, he brings the happy like Lulu does.
He brings the happy. All right, well, that's it for today. Stick around. There's going to be another video that's going to pop up here or somewhere. Watch those, but bye for now.